All right. I think we're live right now. I think we're finally live. All right, we're live and in the building and in the place. Just waiting for my guests to come. Sir Anthony Stokes. What's up? My name is AJ Ampadu. I am the Earth's Home King, and we are in the building. Sorry for all these technical difficulties. It started downpouring like crazy, and on top of which, uh, on top of which, my computer has issues. So now we're here. Wow, it's like coming down like crazy right now. Anyway, um, my name is the Earth's Home King. How is everybody doing today? Repping, repping the squad. You already know. You already know what time it is. You already know what time it is. Um, so yeah, while waiting for my guests to hop on, I just wanted to say hello to everyone. Um, and I'm gonna grab some comics real quick so we can talk comics. And in the meantime, in between time, we're gonna wait for the guests to come on.
What's good?
Yep, yep.
What's good, bro?
Peace, peace, man. Um, I had all types of crazy tech difficulties. It started. I don't know if you can even tell. It's like torrential downpour. Um,
Oh yeah.
and then it reset. It reset my computer, and then everything went haywire. Usually it rains heavy like this. We get some what crazy weather stuff.
Hmm.
So thank God I live on a hill, so I don't have to worry about flooding. Because let me tell you something. Flood insurance ain't even a is not even a real thing.
You don't think so?
It's just known to like just be a scam. Like it's like so expensive because if you're getting flood insurance, you
Uh
live somewhere where you're probably gonna get flooded. So the insurance companies know that. So they either charge you just an astronomical price for that type of
yeah.
insurance, or they just make it so it doesn't cover anything. Um, so anyway, so because we got started so late, I don't want to keep you on here for too long. We're just gonna do this like a quick 30-minute little just catch up, and
Yeah.
just talk about some stuff. How are you doing, brother? How are you doing?
I'm
Tell
doing
tell the
good, man.
people tell the people who you are and what you're all about.
I am Stokes the writer. I write comic books. It's pretty simple. That's
Yeah,
basically it.
it is. It is. Yeah, it's I met you just because how did I don't even know how I initially
Probably
came
Twitter
across yours.
Spaces.
Yeah, I guess it was Twitter Spaces. Yeah. Um, yeah. Ultimately, you were just someone who I was just I admired your work ethic and your consistency. Um, and even before I read your comic, I just noticed that you had a certain energy online that showed me that man, this guy's really has the ear to the streets, and also seems to be on the cusp of the new era of comic book creators. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we're in this like new emerging era where the old guard is kind of slowly wafting off, and there's all these new creators who are coming. They're just using social media, they're using internet, they're using technology in ways that comic book creators never did. And I'm a little bit older,
Yeah.
so I'm forever trying to be young, right? Trying to be like, yo, all right, how do I get
Yeah.
down? Because it's not even just about becoming a dinosaur and being aged out, but it's also just like it's a business.
Yeah.
And it seems like when you become stiff in your ways and you refuse to accept how the world changes, that's how you close yourself off on new ways to be successful and make money.
Yeah.
So once again, before I even read your books, you inspired me just in terms of just the way you move on the internet. But then once I read your stuff, I'm like, oh, he's actually a good writer as well,
Oh,
and
thank
also a
you.
man
Yeah.
of color too. So all of that kind of got me here. So yeah, is there anything you want to add to that?
Real quick, you got the link? Because I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna send it out. You can send it in
Oh
the
yeah,
comment.
yeah, the link. Okay, yeah, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, the StreamYard link. See, hold on. You mean the link for this show right now? You mean right?
Yeah. Yeah. So people can view it. I'm gonna tweet it out.
No, actually, don't. That link I just sent you is the link for you to join. So don't text that link.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
other link. Got you right here. DM'd on Twitter. Boom.
Yeah. And then there should be like icons, like a Twitter icon, Facebook icon to like broadcast it basically to other
So I
people.
think I need to get an official StreamYard account in order to do that. I'm using a free
Word.
joint,
Yeah, yeah,
so
facts.
it only allows me to broadcast on one thing at once.
Uh,
Um,
that's all good. It's all good. But
uh, yeah. 'Cause I didn't even know you could simulcast with this. Yeah, I'm like literally it's my first time using it. I always hop on people's StreamYard, but I've never done my own StreamYard show. So
yeah, I
learning,
can do
learning,
it to
learning.
Facebook usually a lot of times. But yeah, no. So yeah, I came into the comic space at the very beginning of 2022,
Really,
and
that's when you came in?
2022 I published a K summer 2021, and I
Really?
noticed a lot of inefficiencies. I would say in terms of people people there's a lot of I would say lose I don't want to say loser culture, but I can't think of the actual word right now, but it's a lot of self-defeatism. It's almost like you had to like knock yourself down to even say anything like to promote or anything like that,
Wow.
which was bizarre to me. It was so bizarre. And then yeah, like um I was when Twitter was popping before Elon came, like yeah, we were in Twitter spaces. People would call it engagement farming. I would just call it like, good marketing or et cetera. But yeah, I mean, I think the key for, our kind of section creators, and I think it's less about, age and more so about are you receptive to new ideas? Because Richard's like 38, Pat's like 35, 34, or 36. But like they are they're accepting of new ideas. There's a lot of stuff when I got in, it was like, yo, we do this because this is what you do in comics, but it didn't really make sense. So yeah, no, I try to innovate, because if you don't innovate, you die. I had this what I saw was like immediately like, damn, I want to stand out in this space. Like I don't want to be making comics for 3 years and nobody knows me. So
So
mission
my
accomplished.
question to you is, no, no. What brought you said you started in 2022. What were you doing before comics?
Surviving. I'm gonna be honest. I was, or my early 20s, and really my teens was just distraught, which is a lot of bad shit, um, just getting knocked down, trying different venues, and then something stuck,
Mm,
and I kind of hit the ground and started running. That was 2019, and so 2019 and in the 2019 2021, I was just stacking up bread. I was working crazy. I was working like 50, 60 hours a week. And then I bought a house. So I was like, before I'm doing anything with comics, I'm buying a house so I have a fallback. I have something that can generate wealth on top of comics. And then that's when I started doing comics. But I've been always been writing. Like I've always been a writer since I was like 14, maybe probably even younger, to be honest with that. Honest with you.
Because thinking about that origin story, that's an origin story that you don't oftentimes see end in comics. So that's fascinating to me that you had, I guess, tumultuous, I guess is the word to say, teenage into 20s, and
Yeah.
comics kind of ended up grounding you. I think that's a phenomenal story, and it's also a testament to what comics can do. I remember reading comics and just it being the only thing that used to wake me up when I was, because I also had a really tough, when I was a teenager and stuff. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until I got much older that I realized there were so many other people that comic books and just sci-fi fantasy fiction was their rock, and that kept them through that time of their lives. And I think it's the idea that you can imagine another world that's alternate than the one that you're living in, and
Yeah.
being able to escape to that world. It pretty much kind of blocks you against trauma. It kind of protects you, especially at a young age when you don't have the proper like therapy or whatnot to even know how to even understand what your mind is going through. Just being able to escape real quick to a fantasy world was to help me cope. So it's great to hear that from you as well. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. And that was the thing, is like, yeah, like storytelling, like as a whole. I used to read manga. I used to love movies. I mean, I still love movies. I love movies and mangas. Manga and movies are really which I consider comics, really
Hmm.
my big things. I did read some American comics as well, but yeah, no, and I wanted to contribute to the, I guess, the marketplace, as you will. But yeah, I think it is an unconventional route, and in a couple of ways. I think I just have a lot of people have more life experience. You know what I'm saying? When you get in, again, that's not relative to, it can be relative to age, but a lot of time it's not, where you just kind of have more life experience. You just understand, you're more savvy to a lot of things. For instance, when people will be like, yo, who's got a Kickstarter going? And they'll post their Kickstarter, and then they'll get a bunch of people to reply. That's really to get traction to their Kickstarter. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm. Hmm.
because the replies will boost the algorithm and stuff like that. And that was something I
Right. Right.
recognized early on. And
Hmm.
that's, I guess, a certain level of cynicism that I approached the space with, that allowed
Hmm.
me to navigate, and sometimes unsuccessfully navigate, in terms of, there's probably some things I could have just let slide, or just kind of just skate past, that I couldn't skate past, which led to some unfortunate circumstances. But
Wow. So what do you see in regards to some of the things that you've done wrong? Would you say let's start there. Like, what's something that you felt that you may have done wrong, or not maybe you, but other comic book creators you see are doing wrong? If you don't want to talk about
sure,
yourself
no,
specifically.
100%, I can say that. I mean, I have a bad habit of just going back and forth with certain people that I just don't agree with.
Oh, getting
Uh,
triggered, getting
yeah,
triggered.
a hundred
It's
percent.
hard. It's hard, dude. It's hard not to. I mean, these social media. I'm sorry to cut you off, but created in a way to reverse engineer our brain to pull us into conversations that we don't need to have. So yeah, but
A
go ahead.
hundred percent that I think the big thing for me that I'm looking at, because I started a couple new series within the last year. I started American Yakuza with Charlie and Chris Moses. I started Exorcist Club with Chris Moses. I started It's Fun to Kill People, Tap or Die. Just been really busy in like the last year and a half introducing these new series, and you cannot take for granted that a series will just increase from number one to number two. You really have to, because if you think about it, like, just think about it, right? Like, how many times have you checked out a TV series for one episode and just never went back?
Oh yeah,
Um,
certainly.
People understand the value of a number one, So it's like, yeah, I'll throw $20 at something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna come back. So I think going from number one to number two, my number one thing is retention. I'm focusing on, and this is true in the direct market as well. You know, like the number one, you get the big sales, you kind of tail off. You have to kind of account for
This,
spillage. I don't know. Let's say
right,
that.
right. Yeah.
And that's the thing I see where people are like, and I'm victim to it too. You're like, oh, this one did 6, it was going to do 7 or 8, or and a lot of times it'll do less. You know, I can almost guarantee you'll get less backers, but you'll get new people, which will do the catch up tiers and stuff like that. New backers are the lifeblood for a Kickstarter campaign, because a new backer will come in. And a lot of times, if they're digital backers, they'll buy a bunch of PDFs, which are no expense to distribute, or they'll buy physical copies, which are more money, and honestly are relatively easy to, you know, they're really cheap to distribute after you add it to whatever the package you're already shipping. So that's the main thing. So I think that's one thing. I mean, look, I look at this like I need to tell stories to survive. You know, like at my worst moments in my life, I felt like creator angst. And I'm in a place right now where I'm able to tell a lot of stories, a lot of different genres. And so me, it's like I just gotta keep telling stories. So I'm ready to do anything. I see a lot of people that are like, I'm not gonna do this or that, or I shouldn't have to do this. And it's like, bro, you just gotta. I mean, like I said, adapt or die, essentially.
Yep. So
You know.
let's talk about your comics. I want to hear about, you just listed at least 4 IPs, and that's another one of the things I noticed is that you create a lot of IP, and a lot of it is varied in genre and art and stuff, and I admire that, because I find, I do the same thing. Like I have, in all ages space fantasy, then I have a horror book. I'm also writing mainstream comics. Like it's a wide variety of comics, and in fact, I would even say that you're probably the most varied creator that I see, because even a lot of the other successful creators, they don't have so many different styles. So quickly, just talk to us about the different books you have out right now, and what they're all about.
Yeah, I want to give credit to a couple of creators in the space. Pat Shand definitely does a bunch of different genres for sure. Richie Fairgray, Chris Moses as well. Also are very good at basically releasing monthly, or like every 40 days, or I mean, churning out different stuff. Yeah, for sure. So it's the reason why I did that is because when I was at my con table, my first series was Decay. And my pitch was either, do you like comics? If they had, I was at my first con. I was like, I know I'm gonna get my teeth kicked in. Like you don't know what you don't know. So I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a painful, awkward experience, but I'm gonna learn. I was like, I'm gonna run into this wall, and I'm gonna learn. And I had the Decay standard cover. I had posters, which was the same image as the cover, and I had stickers. That's it. I had those 3 things, and I actually got an exhibitor table as opposed to an artist alley table. So it was 2 feet wider. No banner, no sheet on the table. So it was pretty pitiful, honestly. But a lot of times I'd be like, hey, do you like horror? I'll switch it up. Do you like horror? I'd say, do you like comics? If they were younger, I'd say comics. If they were like a little bit older, I would say horror, and they'd be like, no. And when they said no, I was like, shit, I ain't got nothing for you. Like even what I did Decay 1, Decay 2, Decay 3, and Truth or Thoughts, Decay 4 and 5. So it wasn't until my Tap or Die, which was my 7th book, that I actually did something different, a different genre. And every time I add a genre to the table, I feel like Thanos getting an Infinity Stone, because it's like, okay, now I like, are you like Deadpool? All right, it's fun to kill people. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gotcha.
Oh, you like manga? Here's Gods Were Dead. Here's American Yakuza. It's kind of in that direction. You like sexy stuff. All right, here's Extras Club. You like wrestling. Here's Tap or Die. Do you like you want to finish series? I have Decay. That's finished. So I can kind of every series every issue is a bullet in the chamber, essentially. And
understood.
That's just how I approach it, because ultimately, you can only run a Kickstarter once,
Mm.
for a project. Now you can do a volume, you can kind of, reconstitute certain things, but at its core, you can run a Kickstarter once. And while I mean, a lot, you can make a lot of money. I'm looking at like, okay, how can I consistently make money? How
Mhm.
can I go to any con and have something?
Mhm. Mhm.
What can maybe I can double down on something niche. If I have multiple things, like I can go
Mhm.
to I can't go to a sci-fi con right now because I don't have any sci-fi on the table.
Mm.
But in like 4 months, I'm gonna releasing two different sci-fi books. So now that
Mhm.
gives me that I can go to a wrestling con. It's all these things.
I see what you're saying.
And that was just my approach because okay, I can get paid one time from the Kickstarter, and I think I've taken a hit there as far as Kickstarter because my audience is kind of like, okay, what is this guy doing next? Like you're doing a
Right.
wrestling book, you're doing like kind of like a human drama, supernatural thriller, and then you're doing like a comedy, like a black comedy, and then so I think I'm giving kind of backers whiplash to an extent, but like
Mm.
at the shows I'm doing really well,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't trade it for the world because I would rather be able to do all these genres and be able to point to this, that, etc. And also when you sell one of everything, it's the best feeling in the world. Like, and it's,
Mhm.
or you
Mhm.
sell a bunch of different stuff. It's the best feeling in the world.
So that's a good segue because I feel like I'm a little bit similar in the sense that my con my con output is very different than my online output. And one of the reasons I don't work nearly as hard on the internet as I should.
Yeah.
So that detracts my ability, but I do compensate or at least try to compensate in other ways. So I guess my question to you is what do you notice about the difference between people who buy comics on Kickstarter specifically versus people who buy comics at comic book conventions?
You got to think like a comic con is very, a comic con, like, I guess you can look at it as like niche, right?
Hmm.
Like a direct market is for people that are going to comic book stores. Like those are your hardcore combo fans. Kickstarter is more general. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
you have like general. I think you have like casual comic fans. You have people that just kind of maybe they dabble in everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have collectors. You have digital readers. It's a lot more. It's a lot less niche. It's a little bit
Mm.
more expanded. And then once you get to a comic con, it's anybody. Anybody of any demographic can walk past your table.
Right.
So I think that's the core of it. And I will say I'm really good at selling to like first time comic book buyers a lot of times. Like that was my brand, but like I don't really read comics where it's like, you got to start, you got to, that was really nice. So that's the key of it, I think, is that you kind of got to go a little broad, right? So for instance, American Yakuza um American Yakuza, which I think will do good, kind of will kind of hit all three kind of sections. But something that I say when I have that on the table is I'm like, hey, this is colored by John Rauch, who did Invincible. And that's something that a lot of people recognize that's a hot property. So people will know that it's, oh shit, yeah. Um, it's
Oh,
funny,
I didn't
Kill.
even know that you work with a colorist who worked on Invincible. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Charlie hooked it up. So it's fun to kill people if I say I know to remove Johnny the Homicidal Maniac from my pitch a lot of times, unless they're a core, they express that they're a
Right.
core
Right.
comic book fan, because a lot of people don't know what Johnny the Homicidal Maniac is. Maybe
Gotcha.
I'll even pivot to Invader Zim because that's what JV is also known for. That's a little bit more broad.
I
So
understand.
I guess yeah, I'm going more broad. The more you kind of go. So that would be the thing. The core difference,
Okay.
I believe. I also think that comic book, like the casual people are like less discernible. Like a lot of times, like they don't know. A lot of these guys are like casual comic book fans, or they don't even read comics. And then so
Hmm.
like they're more discernible. It's kind of like, yo, can you just sell them the idea? Like maybe it doesn't have to be like the craziest print quality with like the
I see.
craziest
I
book.
see.
That will help, that absolutely help. But
They're into the pitch.
to the non-discernible eye, like a great comic book and like a good comic book maybe don't even look that different, you know.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's extremely valuable. Um. So Kickstarter, seeing that you're someone who works on Kickstarter, you mentioned some other people like Pat Shan and Chris Moses, guys who seem to be very consistent on Kickstarter and work a lot on Kickstarter. I'm seeing the diversification of comic books. In my opinion, you have all these different sectors. We just mentioned the con audience. We're talking about the Kickstarter audience. We have what I call the Wednesday Warriors, the mainstream comic book fans. And it's interesting because I'm writing for that audience right now, Valiant
Yeah.
Alien, and I can tell you this very, very different
Yeah.
than the con people and everybody else. Then you got your like book people, like graphic novel people who will read
Yeah.
comic books if it's in a bookstore, they'll
Yeah.
read that. One of the things that's happened recently is that DC Comics has started to releasing these manga-sized digest versions of their classic comic book stories. And I don't know if you saw, but the numbers just came back because they've only been out like a month or so, and the numbers just came back on them, and they're flying off the shelves. They're
Yeah.
they're selling extremely well. Um, what do you think? Why do you think that is? And do you think this is going to set a new trend in comic books? Because what I understand is that they're sized differently. They shrunk down to like almost like manga novel size. They're priced differently. They're like $10 a piece, I think, and they're distributed differently. Where they're not only in comic book stores and bookstores, but they're like in Target and like
Yeah.
Walmart and stuff like that. So I'm just want to hear your opinion on that.
No, I mean I think manga is I mean people don't like to have I mean and this is I just don't understand why. People don't even like delineating manga like from Western comics, which is like very tedious. Because like yes, they are all comics. If you're gatekeeping somebody because they read manga, you're an idiot, right?
Hmm.
But there are differences. You just illustrate the size. You know, a lot of times manga is black and white. Like there's certain things, but you
Hmm.
gotta look at the value, right? Like um you know like if I can pay $12 for like 200 pages or I can get four 20-page comic books like just the value of it
Hmm.
is a lot different. And then also, I mean, people like I said, people don't want like to hear this as well, but the lower point barrier of entry for manga is the key, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it's so much easier just to say, yo, start at Naruto Volume 1 and go from
Hmm.
there, chapter 1, you know,
Hmm.
et cetera, et cetera. So I think the more that the industry resembles manga, the better. Now, you don't want to change all the way, but adapting these principles is a great idea. I mean, it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a good value. I'm just
I
like,
imagine Marvel is going to follow suit pretty soon once they
yeah,
see the success. I even thought about shrinking Kimmy Cosmic down to like a manga size. My biggest concern was if you shrink your pages down, are they still going to be legible? And I've seen people do a lot of reviews, and they say for the most part, there's like a couple different like one or two things that you might not be able to see, but like 98% of it comes through perfectly legible in the shrunk down versions. And that was my biggest concern was I going to have to reformat everything, or could I just shrink the pages down and put them in a smaller book because they're cheaper to print too for us as
yeah,
well. Printing them in those sizes. So if that's what people want, if that's what the market is gonna go to for American comics, and that's been the success story for manga, it's just about adapting. And DC seems a little bit more courageous or maybe desperate in regards to adapting their comics and graphic novels into different formats. That it's just interesting. It's always valuable for me to see not only people like you but also major companies doing things differently. The other thing that I've seen trendy that's been happening, at least on the mainstream comic side, is the evolution of the re-evolution of shared universes. That was one of the things that I noticed back in the day is that you had Marvel and DC, and then unfortunately a distant third was Valiant Comics, but you
uh-huh,
didn't have that many shared universes. Like Image Comics was very successful, but they weren't shared. They were individual
yeah,
stories. IDW, Boom, all of the major comic book companies, aside from Marvel, DC, no one had a shared universe. Now You have the Energon universe where they combine Transformers, GI Joe, and other stuff under Robert Kirkman. Then you have the Ghost Machine universe. You have the Massiverse universe with Radiant Black. I've been telling people about Radiant Black and the Massiverse
Yeah.
stuff. Like that to me is the next. That's the next Invincible. Like when I read Invincible and I was like, oh, this is amazing. This reminds me of like an American version of like manga. Um, the Radiant Black, I think, is going to be the next really dope thing, and it's like a connective universe. Also, I'm writing with Valiant Alien, and what I like about Valiant, it's a connective universe, but it's not so big. It's not like, oh my
Yeah.
god, there's 50 years of storytelling that I have to catch up on. So I'm seeing other indie creators starting to make these connected universes. I think people are still becoming used to this tapestry kind of storytelling where there's a bunch of different characters all interacting in the same world and stuff. So that's another trend that I'm seeing. All right, so I don't want to take too much time because I said we wanted to be quick. I'm gonna go ahead and plug my Kickstarter now. For all the couple people who are watching, and hopefully people be watching the replay. I
Okay,
am
good.
doing a Kickstarter right now. It's gonna end this weekend. We are launching the next two issues of Kimmy Cosmic. Kimmy Cosmic is my space cowboy adventure, and we have the first. This we have a total of 7 issues on this Kickstarter in total. So we have the first graphic novel, which has the first 5 issues, and I should have had it in my hand, but I don't. But we also have the next 2 issues, issue 6 and issue 7, where we introduce a new villain. I like Kimmy Cosmic because I think it's a space fantasy adventure that I think anyone could read. I think that there's a lot of comics nowadays that are very mature, they're very adult. I wanted to make something that was all ages, accessible to everyone. I wanted to make something that reminded me of some of my favorite adventure and space fantasies stories of all time, like Star Wars and Avatar: The Last Airbender. One of the things that I always thought about Avatar: The Last Airbender is it's a kids' cartoon that starts off with genocide. I mean, it's like it's
Yeah.
it's calling it a kids show to me. Oh, it never was genuine because I feel like the themes in that show were deep enough that you didn't have to be a child to appreciate. And as the show continues, it every season it got much more and more mature. And by the time you got to Legend of Korra, it was even more mature. And that's exactly what it is with Kimmy Cosmic. Kimmy Cosmic is we start off and she's 13 years old, but the storylines that we're working on and as we're moving forward, she's getting older, she's getting more mature. The themes are going to grow as she grows. So I encourage anyone who's a fan of science fiction, science fantasy, to check out Kimmy Cosmic. We have beautiful illustrations. The colors here that we chose, I really feel like are spectacular. My colorist, Iakopo Kalisti, he did a fantastic job with a lot of the colors. Um, we also use a great artist, Emma Galloway. They did a fantastic job giving me that animated feel, but also with a lot of realistic expressionism. So I'm really proud of this comic. We're about 75% on the campaign. I'm fully confident that we're going to reach our goal. But of course, you can help me out by just checking it out, um, grabbing something and sharing it with your friends or family. Right now, looking at Christmas coming soon, and I think that the books that we're making would make great Christmas gifts for anybody that you're reading and anybody in your family, friends who are interested in comics. Um, Stokes, do you want to go ahead and plug what you have?
Yeah, so I'm sharing my screen you can see in the bottom, it should be in the bottom left. You can click on it to
Uh,
share.
I guess. Oh, okay. There you go.
Let's see if it works. All right, yeah, cool. So this is I'm actually launching this tomorrow. It's called My Girlfriend is a Cyborg Assassin. So it's
Nice.
kind of like Blade Runner meets Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So you have like the PI, and he hates technology, and he stumbles into a conspiracy and gets this cyborg as a partner. So it's kind of like a buddy cop kind of thing. I just looking at the cover, really enjoy the cover. It's let me zoom out a little bit. I always loved noir. I always loved kind of like the aesthetic. I love Blade Runner as well. So I wanted something that was kind of in that vein. You can see the interiors. We got a good team. We got Jack Dunn and Maximo doing the colors. So you can see like, yeah, kind of the sci-fi elements um, sci-fi elements here, kind of like some action beats and stuff like that. So really good, and we got a lot of damn covers. We got like 10 covers on this thing. So we got the main cover, we got the uncensored. It's definitely not a kid's book. So I'll just scroll through, see you can see some of the wares here.
Nice.
And then this is going to be every NSFW cover is available in a metal. So I actually have to adjust that. I have to adjust that on the campaign as well. But yeah, that's what I got going on. I'm actually launching tomorrow, so very very very
Nice.
excited about that.
I
Yeah,
will be I'll be there. I'll be there to grab it. I try to support all of your projects. So,
hell yeah,
definitely gonna try to grab that. Um, yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for rocking out with
yeah.
me on short notice. Um, Once again, check out Stokes the writer. You want to plug your socials, your website, or anything like that?
Yeah, Decay Comic for the websites. I'm on Twitter at Stokes the Writer. That's basically it. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah, check me out.
Yeah, and once again, check out Kimmy Cosmic. We have 5 days left, and I can't wait to share this next chapter with you guys. I think it's really, really exciting. And yeah, thank you for rocking with me. And also, if you are into mainstream stuff, I got a huge stack of comics right here next to me. Ninjak versus Roku is out in the stores right now. The mainstream or your major local comic book stores. We have issues 1, 2, and 3. Issue 4 comes out September 11th, and then in October I have 3 Valiant comics coming out. I'm writing Shadow Man #1, um, which I'm really excited about. I'm also working on a horror anthology for Valiant called Tales from the Dead Side, which is going to expand the Shadow Man lore. That's coming out in October. And the main event of this year for Valiant Comics is the Resurgence storyline, which is all the heroes getting together to fight the evil villain Dr. Silk. And I'm co writing that with the very talented Fred Van Lente. So, if you're into really sophisticated superhero fiction, I definitely think that Valiant is a great alternative to a lot of other options you can have right now with mainstream superhero comics. So head over to your local comic store, check that out. And I think that's it, man. Unless you got anything else you want to talk about or chat about, anything else on your mind?
Nah, that's it. That's it.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you for being here and peace.
Let's see.